Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all our dear respected listeners and viewers around the world. Welcome back, Alhamdulillah, to our day 14 and part 9 of the Seerah that we do daily by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Alinda Radio on our daily Ramadan show. Alhamdulillah, today we have with us in the studio, we have our beloved Ismail and beloved Riyaz. And sadly, we don't have with us our Hafiz Sadiq Mama. Hafiz Sadiq Mama won't be with us today as many people who know Hafiz Sadiq Mama will know that he used to take care of a lovely lady by the name of Rini, who he was very, very close to. And sadly, Rini has passed away today. And as a result, Hafiz Sadiq Mama, who used to look after and take care of her, has had to go and sort out and arrange her funeral arrangements. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept and reward Hafiz Mama for everything he's done for to take care of Rini. Um, so today he will be dearly missed, but we will have to continue the show in the hopefully in the spiritual presence and in the memory of Sadiq Mama with us until he joins us again tomorrow, inshallah. Before we begin, I've been told by Ismail that you're going to do a special performance for us.
J.
Is it a poem?
Yes.
Mashallah, mashallah.
J.
Okay, mashallah. So
It's actually I've done this poem for a competition.
oh,
I don't know
mashallah.
if you, I don't know if you've heard of Alwan Arts.
I have G.
Yeah, in Bolton. Well, there's a competition that he's doing tomorrow. So this is especially for that.
Oh, mashallah. So we get to see like an early sneak peek of it.
J.
Mashallah. How are you guys doing?
Alhamdulillah.
Good, mashallah. Okay, Ismail, whenever you're ready, inshallah, bismillah. Floor's yours.
Ramadan is a blessed month. Many fast from dawn to dusk. It's a time to recharge our iman. It is also a time to pray the Holy Quran. During the night, many stand in sujood and listen to the beautiful verses of the Holy Quran and glorify the oneness of Allah. Within the last 10 nights of Ramadan, there is a night which is better than 1,000 months, known as Laylatul Qadr. This is the night when our beloved Messenger ﷺ received the Quran. So as you can see, what a blessed month this is. Let us use our time wisely. Make dua frequently. Let us turn to Allah before we return to Allah.
Mashallah, mashallah. Ismail, did you do that yourself?
J.
Mashallah, that's beautiful, Ismail. Allah reward you for all your hard work and all your effort you put into these beautiful poems and beautiful performances that you both prepare for us. And I take it, Riyaz, you're preparing the 99 names of the beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Inshallah next week.
Next week, inshallah. So I request everyone, inshallah, all the viewers, to make special dua for Riyaz, and Allah accept and Allah put barakah in his time and grant him ease. He's working so hard, inshallah. He's going to be practicing all week, preparing this beautiful seerah, this beautiful 99 names of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So inshallah, when he comes on next week, he can all teach us the beautiful names that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon his Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we can know more about our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as we have discussed in the past, we don't know enough and we can never know enough about our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So may Allah reward Ismail and may Allah reward Riyaz, and I request everyone to continue making dua for them, inshallah. So now, guys, if you're ready, we will enter into the seerah for our part 9, day 14 show of the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And alhamdulillah, we should make shukr and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if it's just through our words, that to acknowledge this beautiful blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us again and again and again, that in the state of fasting in the month of Ramadan, we are allowed to be in the companionship of his beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and in the enter into the life of his beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the seerah and the life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a masterpiece above every other life and made the most important of lives ever to be lived and ever that will be lived on this earth of ours. As is the practice, we will have a short recap before we continue. On yesterday's episode of the seerah, we discussed that moment in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he is in the care of his uncle Abu Talib. And as we said, he would stay close to his uncle Abu Talib. And wherever Abu Talib would go, the Prophet ﷺ would go. And Abu Talib, as he started to travel outside of Makkah for business and other reasons, the Prophet ﷺ used to accompany Abu Talib. And as such, when the Prophet ﷺ was 12 years old, he had accompanied Abu Talib on a journey towards the lands of Syria. And whilst they were en route to this journey, a monk had actually seen this this caravan of camels and horses and people go in the distance, and he noticed that there was a beautiful cloud that was shading these people in an otherwise empty, clear sky. And he knew, as a monk who had been studying the scriptures of the Christian scriptures and the scriptures of the saints, he knew that this was a man of God that would be given this sharaf and this honor. So he asked his assistant to go and call them until a feast was prepared, and he sat down and examined every one of the people who had entered until he asked for the leader. And when he was directed to Abu Talib, he asked, "Is there anyone you've left behind?" Until he eventually got to know that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the 12-year-old angelic innocent boy, has been left outside out of adab. Saying when you meet a person first time, you can't just walk in with a child. It might seem disrespectful on our part. So Abu Talib left Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam outside of the house of Bahira. And Bahira, this monk who ran outside, opened the door and he noticed that the tree outside his house that he's been witnessing for years upon years is suddenly changed, because now that this child Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sat beneath it, Bahira witnessed how the branches of that tree had curved in to offer additional shade to this beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was sat under the shade of the tree, under which above which was the shade of that cloud that never left him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I was always giving him shade, and it was a signification of the watchful, protectful eye of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that was always looking after his beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we discussed how Bahira went, elated, and he ran up to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, examined him until he saw the seal of prophethood that everyone yearned to see, that was so blessed and had so many virtues. And he started going on about how this great boy will become a leader and a prophet. And Abu Talib, they all got a bit freaked out almost, because they were used to many of the people of the book, the Christians and Jews who was emptied into Makkah, always going on about a coming prophet. So Abu Talib, because of the care of his nephew, they took the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they went away, and eventually returned back to Makkah. And we discussed how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went through his teenage years, 13, 14, 15. We discussed how the sacrilegious wars had taken place in Makkah, and how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was averse to these wars. But when in the aftermath of these battles, when the Hilf al-Fudul, the coalition was made to for the welfare and for the rebuilding of the homes and the lives that had been destroyed in this war, the Prophet ﷺ's heart was automatically inclined, and he said in Nubuwwah that if someone was to start this, I would love to join. And this was the state of the heart of the Prophet ﷺ, who, as he went through his 17th and 18th and 19th year, he was averse to all of the idol worship and all of the injustices, and he would walk past and just look and feel remorse towards everything that was happening. And people would notice that how he is very different to the other youth of Makkah. And he said how he was also the royal blood. He was the son and the grandson of the leader of Makkah. And yet the other children of the leaders of Makkah were enjoying the fancy dresses and all of the things that the youth were doing at the time, from the clubs that they had and the socializing and the events and every fitna that they had, the music and the women, they were all indulging in all of this. And yet the Prophet ﷺ was just a working man who was trying to learn about the responsibilities of life. And he would always stay averse to all of these things. And the people of Makkah started to notice this, until, as we said, the Prophet ﷺ developed from 20 to 21 to 23, 24, 25, until he developed into this beautiful, strong man of 6 foot 3 foot height, with beautiful, glossy, voluminous, wavy hair, beautiful, gleaming wheat complexion, like the moon on its, in its full glory, even more beautiful than that, with his beautifully arched eyebrows and long eyelashes, beautiful, gleaming eyes, dark pupils, and the beautiful gleaming complexion with the aquiline nose, the wide-arched beautiful mouth that was so eloquent of the Prophet ﷺ, so beautiful, with the beautiful gleaming beard of the Prophet ﷺ, beautiful, thick and dense, the broad shoulders, the wide plated chest, the V-form physique with the beautiful abs of the and perfection of the Prophet ﷺ's torso physique, on the beautiful strong legs and strong built, well-built joints, and the beautiful well-fleshed feet of the Prophet ﷺ, that in the peak of his youth, showing the peak of his beauty that he is now reaching, and how the Prophet ﷺ had become someone who was trading in business, and everyone who worked with him said he was the best colleague to work with. He was the most honest. He was easygoing. He didn't quarrel. He didn't fight. But at the same time, he stuck to the principles of truth and justice. And as we said, Allah inspired him to be from his heart naturally on the millat Ibrahim, the way of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He was naturally inclined to be upon this. His heart would only go towards that way and only think according to that way, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the inspiration of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we discussed how the Prophet used to graze goats as in the profession of a shepherd, as every messenger and prophet was, to build a connection with these animals, and to as a foreshadowing on preparation for the task that comes afterwards, for a da'i and for a rasul, for a nabi, to be able to learn how to graze goats who are disobedient, who won't listen, who can't speak your language, you can't understand you can't understand them. Everyone is different, and each individual needs to be learned and known individually, and a connection needs to be built that goes beyond just language and words, from heart to heart. All of these would prepare the Prophet ﷺ for, and like us, only the messengers for the role of prophethood, for the role of da'wah, which is there for them to build a connection with people that is goes beyond words and goes through from heart to heart. And like this, the Prophet ﷺ continues his trade until he becomes known in Makkah with the titles of Al-Amin and As-Sadiq, the most truthful and the most trustworthy. This was the person, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that people would entrust their wealth to, people would entrust their gifts to. If they had to travel somewhere and they needed, they've got their jewelry and houses that weren't, well built. People had security guards who were the rich, but other people didn't have those luxuries. They didn't have CCTV cameras. They didn't have locks and well built houses like that we do now. So they would entrust, if they were going somewhere, they would entrust their wealth and their most choicest, valuable possessions to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, knowing that nothing, not one penny, would go lost when it comes to into the hands or entrusted into the hands of Al-Amin and As-Sadiq. That's what the Prophet ﷺ became known as, the most truthful and trustworthy in the most dishonest and the most distrustful society of Mecca, where everyone was after their own benefit. Everyone was after greed, as we discussed. This was the purity of the Prophet ﷺ. And we said that eventually this news reaches Mecca until it reaches the lofty house of a very, very successful business person from one of the Fortune 100, if you will, of the most successful business individuals of Mecca, a lady by the name of Tahira, who is in the upper room of her home, and she this news reaches her of this beautiful man and this great businessman known as Al-Amin and As-Sadiq, whose name was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we said to find out who this Tahira is, radiallahu anha, and what happens next, we will continue today. So as is the practice, we request everyone, Ismail Riaz and everyone listening, to recite salawat upon our beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam before we begin and enter into the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. So now, as we enter, as the clouds form through and we enter into this beautiful city of Mecca, we're going into this house, which is the house of a very lofty and a very respectful businesswoman of Mecca, who a lot of people respected, and who was the daughter of also a very influential and very rich person, who after his demise had left a great wealth for his daughter, which he had then invested and used in trade and become one of the most successful businesswomen of Mecca. This was a woman who had grown up and had at a very young age had married a person by the name of Abu Hala Hind ibn Zurara al-Taymi or Tamimi. Until this marriage lasted for some time, and they had beautiful children known as Hind and Hala, both two boys. Until that husband Abu Hala had passed away. And when Abu Hala had passed away, this wonderful woman, this beautiful woman, had married another man by the name of Atiq ibn Abid al-Makhzumi, with whom they had a daughter, Hind, until he also passed away. And now she was on her own, living in this area of Mecca, running her own business successfully. But she became someone who would run her business whilst also remaining absolutely modest and absolutely chaste, and avoiding interaction with the opposite gender unnecessarily, and restricting herself to be known as, even though she was a widow of two husbands who had passed away, and she was the mother of three beautiful children, the son Hala, the son Hind, and the daughter Hind. Two from her first husband who had passed away, and a third daughter, youngest daughter, from her second husband who has also passed away. This wonderful widow had, from the beautiful confines of her home, she would conduct a business that would go beyond Mecca, beyond the confines of Mecca. This is how well skilled and how blessed she was in her business. And this woman became known by the title of Tahira, radiallahu anha, because of how pure and chaste she was. Tahira meaning the most pure one, because of how pure she was, and how she had conducted such great business and had worked so well, but without intermingling with men, without going out into this society and losing her chastity and modesty. And this was in a society where Makkah was known to be immodest. People would just swap their wives and partners, and people would women would go and sleep with multiple men and just get paid whatever they could. Prostitution had become a norm because of how low the standards of modesty had become for some. This is the state Makkah was, and even those who were modest was just putting a front on. And in this society, this beautiful lady becomes known as a Tahira, as one of the most pure and most respectful woman. She was also one of the most noble women. Her lineage and her family was the most respectful of Makkah. And she was also one of the most successful and rich women of Makkah. She was at the top of the most elite business women of Makkah and the most elite businessmen of Makkah. And as such, she was a woman who was, celebrated in Makkah, and many men had gone after her to try and, become someone who gets to marry her and gets to take a share in her wealth, or gets to, marry someone who the whole of Makkah was talking about. And yet many, very few people had actually seen, because she would stay in the purity of her home. This was this beautiful lady who became known as Tahira bint Khuwaylid, the daughter of Khuwaylid. This woman now gets to hear of Al-Amin al-Sadiq. So when Tahira radiallahu anha hears about Amin al-Sadiq sallallahu alayhi wasallam, so Allah put something in her heart to say that I should team up and I should make a joint venture in business with this man sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who is known to be extremely honest and integral, who does business with very good ethics. And it's very hard to find someone like this. But on top of this, whenever he goes on a business journey, he comes back more successful than everyone else who is dishonest and greedy, and who are very, sharply tactful in all of the things that they do to get their business up. So now this beautiful, wonderful lady Tahira radiallahu anha, she sends her assistant known as Maysara. So Maysara is now sent saying, take this business deal, if you will, or this proposition to Al-Amin al-Sadiq. And Maysara goes and he discusses the deal with Al-Amin al-Sadiq sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, this beautiful man of 25 years old, who is at the peak of his youth, goes and meets and agrees, has these beautiful meetings and agrees to embark on this joint venture towards other lands outside of Makkah on a trade convoy in partnership with Tahira radiallahu anha and her business. And the agreements are settled, the prices, what's going to be sold, the wages, etc. Everything is agreed. And Maysara goes on representing Tahira radiallahu anha as part of her business, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes as himself, his sole trading. He goes together, and they go together and they embark on this beautiful trade outside of Makkah, this beautiful trade journey. And whilst they're on this trade journey, Maysara begins to see many different aspects of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that just completely take him aback, saying, "Wow, who is this man?" sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we said yesterday, that from the riwayah of Ma'bad, that from a distance you'd already be captivated, but no sooner would he come in front of you and be completely awestruck. Maysara is traveling in the close companionship of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But besides the physical beauty and besides the spiritual awe that he felt, he would see the way and the conduct of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he would just completely be taken aback. And he just marveled, like, wow, this man is so amazing. He's just so cool. And you just can't help fall in love with him. But beyond this, beyond the ethics of business, as they go on their travel, and the following morning they get to their various pit stops, and the 9 a.m. morning, if you will, starts. They start their business, they start their work, and he's just looking at each meeting, each sale, each transaction, and looking at the honesty and the integrity and the barakah and the success of this man Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in everything that he touches, and he's just so taken aback. But beyond this, when they go to the other towns outside of Makkah and they go to the lands where the religious demographic is changed, and you're now surrounded by people of the book and people of prophecy who have heard about the coming of a final prophet and who are awaiting the final prophet. There were people who would come randomly to do business, and they'd take a gaze upon the face of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they'd say, "Who is this man?" And they'd inquire and ask more and more questions, and they'd begin that same so-called crazy talk, saying, "The messenger, this is the messenger. He has the signs of the final messenger. You're going to be a prophet. Don't you see the seal of prophet on your back? Don't you see this sign and that sign? On every question we asked you about these details, and you fit the profile. You must be the final messenger." And they were struck between happiness and also shock, because they thought, this man isn't from Bani Israel. This man isn't from our tribe or this tribe. And this so-called crazy talk that they thought was continuing until the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Maysara, who they had almost withdrawn themselves from these people, because it started to go and continue wherever they went, until there was another monk by the name of Nastura, who has a similar encounter to Bahira, and he's absolutely taking over Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying, "You're a messenger, you're the final prophet," and they have to just withdraw from these various places. But wherever they go and whichever city they embark, beyond these peculiarities, Maysara is just in absolutely in awe. He's taken like a verbal, physical report saying, I have to go back and tell Tahira, my boss, saying, you have no idea just how, everything we heard about him, he is beyond those expectations. Those words didn't do justice to him, just like our words don't do justice to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, whilst they are on this journey, if we zoom back into the scene of Makkah, we have this wonderful woman by the name of Tahira, radiallahu anha, known as Tahira bint Khuwaylid, radiallahu anha, who, as she is in her home and she is conducting her business and she is doing her daily activities, there comes a time when one of the festivals of Jahiliyyah, one of the festivals that the women used to have regarding, socializing events and, marriage events, they had one such event that would take place on a certain night. And this night had come. And during this night, all the women would gather on this, set date kind of thing, and they'd have like a socializing event, and many people were invited. So this wonderful lady, Tahira radiallahu anha, is also invited. And she comes and she joins a fellow women folk, and she enters into this place, and she takes part as one of the participants in this social gathering. And once everyone else is talking and embarking on into the various chit chat and socializing, whatever, everyone wants to be like Tahira. Everyone wants to be as rich and influential and respected and noble as her. But she's the one who isn't, putting on this show. She isn't putting on this. You have to understand who she is amongst all of these people of fake smiles and who are trying to put it on. She's the one in the quiet corner. She's just silent, and yet everyone else is coming towards her because of the respect and nobility she had. And she's the one who is just, respectfully living up to her title of Tahira and just earning the respect of everyone who saw her. Saying, you know what? Why is it that we're trying all this hard, putting on all this, persona and fake laughs and trying to be so loud and get attention, but everyone's attention is just on Tahira, radiallahu anha. And yet she's the silent one, she's the modest one. And that is a sign that when the true beauty of a woman, the true nobility of a woman, that she doesn't seek attention, but rather she just seeks Allah. And when she seeks Allah, and when she just constantly looks within herself and not those around her, Allah elevates her status. That without seeing her, people are talking about her as in a form of respect. Even without seeing her, she becomes a celebrity of purity and a celebrity of status, not just a fake celebrity, not someone who's having to spend their entire life using their voice or their body or their beauty or their looks or their talents to try and get some attention, but without even being seen, without even being heard, the whole world is talking about you. This is how Allah elevates the honor of a Muslim and the honor of someone who seeks Allah and not the world. And this was the status of Tahira radiallahu anha, who just looked within her own self, who was just content on doing good and being a beautiful, amazing woman. And this successful woman who had reached status beyond celebrities, and we can't even use that word celebrity, na'uzubillah, with Tahira radiallahu anha, because she was beyond all of that. That's all fake. She was a true honorific. She was a person who was honored as one of the most memorable and one of the most honorable people of her time and of her city. She was one of the most noble of her time. And that word noble probably is more suited and but doesn't do justice towards who she was, radiallahu anha. And while she is in this gathering, again you see that a group of Jewish women had entered and a Jewish man had entered, and he started, disrupting this gathering, this circle of theirs, by this talk that we've heard, we've received news that the final prophet has arrived. We've seen the signs, we've seen it in our dreams. Our rabbis are talking about it, and they start becoming almost perplexed because on one side the news that they've been so eagerly waiting has arrived, but it's not how they wanted it. They wanted it to be from them. And whilst they're talking about this final prophet to come, they come and kind of gate crash this party. They come and gate crash this event, which is of all these socialist elites. So they start to get dragged out, and all these women start shouting at them and cursing at them, and get where's the gods? Get them out! And whilst all these women are shouting and cursing at them, in the distance, this lady Tahira's ears are light, and she starts to hear what he's saying. And when these Jewish comrades are taken out, as his final screams, he says, "Mark my words, the prophet, the final prophet is here. We have seen it. We can feel it. He is here. He is amongst you." At that moment, while everyone is cursing them, Tahira radiallahu anha, her eyes lit up. She turns to Allah and says, "If the final prophet truly has come, make me his wife. Honor me. O Allah, choose me and accept me to be the wife of your beloved final prophet that you have sent. If what he's saying is truly correct, O Allah, if it is truly true, Allow me to be the supporter and the partner of your final messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this woman, this beautiful, pure woman who was known as Tahira bint Khuwaylid, radiallahu anha, her dua at that time she was the only one who, the way Hazrat Halima Sa'diyah radiallahu anha had, when every other woman had passed by the orphan, Allah opened her eyes and heart and selected her to be the one who would be in the care, who would take care of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the world was separated and in this isolated desert, when Hazrat Amina radiallahu anha passed away, it was Ayman, the beautiful African slave who Allah accepted. And when all of these women had surrounded and cursed this person and marked it off as crazy talk, that there's no prophet coming, na'udhu billah, it was Tahira whose heart Allah opened to the light of Nubuwah, and she was the one who made dua by the tawfiq of Allah, saying, "Oh Allah, accept me to be the wife and the partner of your final messenger." And this is the beauty of Allah, that when one beautiful statement that brings tears to our eyes, we all have those duas in the depth of our heart that we ask for. But if Allah is giving you the tawfiq to make dua, know that He wants to accept it, or that He wants to give you something, because He wouldn't give you the tawfiq to reject you. If He didn't want to accept your dua, He wouldn't give you the tawfiq to make that dua. Just like He gave the tawfiq or to make that dua to Tahira radiallahu anha at that moment, so that she could have a dua accepted, and she could be the woman who we know and love as Sayyida Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiallahu anha, the first wife of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as a result of this beautiful dua that she makes. She looks up to the heavens and makes this dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the night of Makkah, in this serene night of Makkah. Whilst if we zoom in to the lands of Syria and beyond, you have Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who is innocently sleeping in those nights, whilst Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking care of him and preparing him for the next chapter of his life, for the next opening and the next happiness of his life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you have Amin and Sadiq in those lands, and Tahira radiallahu anha, whose hearts are about to be joined, as they were joined and written from before the creation of the heavens and the earth. And so this moment arises where Tahira radiallahu anha leaves this party and she goes back to her home and makes dua and eagerly awaits. And now her heart is just attached to one thing. She wants to meet the final prophet, and she wants to become the wife of the final prophet. And now, as she's making this dua and as the nights pass on, one morning she wakes up, and this morning she hears a noise. She hears a messenger calling out to her, saying that her caravan, her trade caravan, her business, convoy that went has arrived. And to this, she wakes up this morning, and this beautiful morning, and she is in the upper room, on the upper floor of her house. And as she walks to her window opening, she opens the trellises of her window, and as she looks out from this height of the upper floor of her house, she sees the convoy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Amin al-Sadiq, who until this moment was just a title, just a description, the most truthful and trustworthy, who I am doing business with, and my worker, my employee Maysara, has gone with him. Now when she opens these windows and she sees this majestic sight of this beautiful caravan, and at the front of it is this beautiful 25-year-old beautiful Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and as the locks glisten in the sun of Makkah, and his face gleams, and the beautiful beads of sweat fall off his forehead, and this huge convoy, and Maysara's face elated, looking around, and Makkah is welcoming these people. The moment her eyes from this, if you zoom out from this scene of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam coming in with the camels, and you transfer back to the window opening of Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiallahu anha, her eyes, the moment they set upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, her heart recognizes straight away, this is the final messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the final prophet. No one looks like this. And this isn't just material beauty. This is beyond, this is out of this world. This is heavenly. Allah put it in the heart straight away, because recognizing these things are a tawfiq of the heart, not of the eyes. And Allah put it in her heart that she recognized Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam straight away. And her heart had set straight away. She couldn't, she was so awestruck at this beautiful, majestic scene as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam entered triumphant into Makkah with another successful business deal. And she goes back into her home. She awaits Maysara entering, and as Maysara, as the convoy reaches the door of the house, her heart is almost pounding. Her heart is racing. And at this moment, as Maysara enters, she's in the spiritual awe, and Maysara is like, forget the business deal. All he's doing is just talking about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam this, Muhammad this, Muhammad this, Muhammad this, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying, you have no idea how awesome he is, how amazing he is. And as he's saying all of these things, her eyes are getting welled up with tears. She's in a state of emotion, hearing all of these things, these descriptions, and now she has a beautiful face, and the most beautiful is a face is to put with the name, a face to put with the name, and a face to put with the description, and what a face to put with those descriptions. And now she, as she's hearing these words that don't do justice to what she's seen, she says to Maysara, listen, I know we agreed this much wait for him, but give him double. Her heart at this moment is so, opening with mercy and with rahmah. She says, give him double. Give him double. I don't need to hear anymore. I don't even know. I don't even want to know what we made or what happened. Give him double of what we promised him. And her heart is just bursting with love for this man, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Pure spiritual love, for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Allah had endowed in her heart. And at this moment, Maysara goes out and he discusses with the Prophet, with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he mentions that, my boss Khadija, Sayyidah Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiallahu anha, she is so elated with you. She's so happy. She's told me that she's increased your wage, and the deal is completed. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam completes everything with honesty, and then gives back every penny, and gives a full account, detailed of everything with full transparency to his business partner, saying this is everything that happened. And all of this is just, as Hazrat Khadija is hearing this from within her home, she's just completely taken aback, because this is the most amazing individual she's ever met, and her life has changed forever. And now her heart is even more yearning. She's begging Allah that Allah grant me Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And while she's in this yearning, and while she's making the dua that Allah gave her tawfiq to make, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam returns to his home. And as Maysara completes the deal and he goes home, Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiallahu anha immediately calls her friend and a relative of hers known as Nafisa bint Muniyah or Nafisa bint Munibba. And there's different ways of how you can pronounce this or how it was narrated. So her friend Nafisa is called, and Sayyidah Khadija radiallahu anha tells a friend about everything that happened. Because naturally, this is what we do in a scenario. We talk to our parents or our elders or those who can advise us. And Nafisa was like that elder sister and that friend to Khadija radiallahu anha, whose parents had passed on. So she begins to talk to her friend and express what is happening in her heart. And when she mentions this, Nafisa, being the friend she is, she stands up and says, leave the rest to me. I know what to do. Because I know how you feel. But we need to know, as women will think in this moment, but what if there's someone else in his life? What if he's already married? So now Nafisa, she stands up and she says to Khadija, don't worry, I'm your best friend. You called me for a reason. Leave the rest to me. So she goes and she approaches Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam respectfully, and she asks Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in regards to his situation, saying, are you working, etc. And she starts this conversation off with, in a very respectful manner. And she notices that how respectfully Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even in this youthful age of 25, doesn't talk flirtatiously or doesn't talk unnecessarily. He looks down and honorably continuing his work, he answers her question until she gets the conversation geared towards, okay, so you're working, you're this many years old, okay, are you married? And at this moment, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had an immense level of modesty and shyness, and he just looks down and he says no. And wallahu alam, how beautiful that exact that scene must have been, we can only imagine. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam respectfully tells her that no, he isn't married. So she asks, okay, so why aren't you married? So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives the answers to it's the reasons of why he wasn't married. And he said, look, right now I don't have the means to get married. And then being the friend she is, he's like, okay, the first two boxes are ticked. He's sallallahu alaihi wasallam single, and there's no reason why he's not getting married. There's definitely no one else there. It's just a matter of him sallallahu alaihi wasallam not feeling like he doesn't have the means. Okay. So now let me just pop the question. What do you think of someone like Khadija radiallahu anha? And the modesty of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right now, he's just, he's almost thinking, how do I respond to this? And she says, describing Khadija radiallahu anha, saying Tahira radiallahu anha, and etc. You know who this woman is. What if someone like her was to, and this is obviously the nature of a friend and the nature of a woman. She's not asking directly, think my friend is interested in marrying you. What do you think? She says, what if, theoretically speaking, and I'm not asking for me or for my friend, just for example, if someone like my friend was to propose to you, would you say yes or no? And the Prophet ﷺ, the way he responds, and he doesn't say anything about himself, but rather him being the greatest of creation, he says such honorable words about Khadija radiallahu anha. Nafisa's like, that's enough for me. I got everything I want from those words. You don't need to say anything further to me. She runs back and tells her friend, Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, who is waiting in her home, and Nafisa is more excited almost than Khadija at this point, radiallahu anha. She runs up to Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha and says, I've got good news. Don't worry, he's single. There's no reason why he's as to why he's not getting married. He just thinks that he doesn't have enough means. And when I asked him about you, and obviously she spills the beans and says, do you want to know how he responded, sallallahu alayhi wasallam? And this is the nature of women, and she's saying all this to Khadija radiallahu anha in the most purest and modest ways, not like how in our times, not the way it happens in our at times, but in the most purest of ways. Remember, they've not even met, they've not even talked to each other, they've not even seen each other. Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha has just seen him sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the upper trellises of her window in the upper floor of her house from a distant. But even before seeing that, she was already making dua for him because of the pure intention of nubuwah and for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for any other reason. And from this pure reason, she's seeing success in her intention, and she's seeing that her dua is being accepted. May Allah accept all of our duas, and because that Allah gave us tawfiq to make dua for. So as the Khadija, as she's being given tawfiq to make dua to become the wife of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who she knows in her heart is the final messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah is accepting her duas. And at this moment, Hazrat Khadija now goes to her elders. She goes towards her uncles and aunts who are still alive, and her cousins, the likes of Waraka bin Nawfal. And Waraka bin Nawfal was one of her cousins who was actually someone who was well versed, was a Christian and well versed in the books of the saints and the books of the scriptures of their religion. And he used to always mention to her about this final messenger coming. So she mentions to him, saying, remember you told me that there's going to be this final prophet. Well, I believe you now, and I believe he's already here. This is the man that I'm talking about. I believe there is no one else other than him, in other words. And she mentions this to her elders and to her uncles and cousins. And they say, if we are happy, if this is what you want. She takes the mashwara of her elders first, and she says, Bismillah. So now she sends an official proposal to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam receives this proposal officially from Sayyidah Khadija radiallahu anha in regards to marriage. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, knowing how honorable and knowing how noble this woman was, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had immediately entered the acceptance of this proposal and the goodness of this proposal within the heart of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now our beloved Rasul Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam at this age begins to approach his uncles. He goes to those who are in his parents' position, in his father's figure, and he goes and he seeks their mashwara, and he says to Abu Talib and in other narrations Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, who is almost the same age as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but nevertheless an uncle, one of the youngest uncles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he seeks their mashwara. So you are, in other words, in my parents' position, in my father's position. This is the proposal that's come to me. And when they give him the positive vibe that yes, definitely, we completely agree with you. This woman is very noble and she's very well known. And they could see that the Prophet ﷺ was happy with regards to this proposal. And likewise, the relatives of Hazrat Khadija could see that she was also very happy at this proposal, and they had good intentions. So within this, they said, we're not going to be a hindrance. You have valid reasons and you have chosen good people. So for both sides, they give their blessing and they give their mashwara for both to solemnize this marriage. And then as it comes in the riwayah, Hamza, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, goes with the Prophet ﷺ to the household of Hazrat Khadija anha, and the finalizing of the marriage takes place, the acceptance of the marriage, that they will say yes to get married, and the mahar and the dates and the time and the specifics begin to be finalized. And this is the solemnization and the preparation of the solemnization of the most beautiful and pure marriages of Al-Amin and Al-Sadiq and Tahira radiallahu anha, the Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Sayyidah Khadija radiallahu anha, the best and most beautiful couples and the most beautiful and purest of love stories to ever face this world and then ever will face this world. And as this solemnization preparation takes place, everything is agreed, and as Khadija radiallahu anha is elated, she's just falling in awe and shukr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of accepting her dua and showing her this day where the yearning that she had, the dua that she made to marry the man who she believed was the most purest of men and the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that day has finally come. And now she can say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah, I thank you for granting me my dua, for granting me the one who I asked for. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And as this happiness continues, it comes to the day of their marriage, of the beautiful day of the marriage of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes to the plains of where their marriage is solemnized with his uncle Abu Talib and his fellow family members and his uncles and the other leaders and nobles of Quraysh. And Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha comes with her cousin Warqa bin Nawfal as a representative and many of her other family members and her friends. And obviously, the matchmaker who Allah accepted, Nafisa, she has to be there. She's there in her own right, and they come together, and the marriage begins with Abu Talib standing up and delivering a sermon, a khutbah, as we do even in nowadays, even in Islam, we see that before the marriage starts, a khutbah is taking place, a khutbah is given. And Abu Talib stands up and gives a khutbah regarding this marriage. And one of the things that is beautiful that he mentions, whilst his own sons and his own children are there, and whilst many of the greatest sons and the most eligible battlers of Makkah are there, you have this innocent orphan sallallahu alaihi wasallam who isn't even on his wedding day, isn't overly dressed or isn't covered in bling and gold, whilst the others are just like they are on a normal day, they're even more overly dressed. And yet, if you looked at all of these overdressed individuals, you'd see that just the face of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam outshined every one of them. And just the nur and the beauty of Tahira outshined all of those women, even those whose hair was open, even those who were immodest. She outshined all of them. And people who could see this was truly a match made in heaven. This was a perfect match. Tahira radiallahu anha and Amin al-Sadiq radiallahu anhu, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And at this moment, Abu Talib mentions with all of these people, one of the beautiful things that he mentions is that my nephew Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in other words, the groom today, if I was to weigh him with all of the other boys, no offense to you guys, but if all of you youth, all of you eligible battlers, all of you overdressed individuals, all of you rich pomp individuals were to be weighed up in the presence of, in other words, my innocent and simple orphan nephew, he'd outweigh all of you. He's greater than all of you, and he's more of a man than any of you are and ever will be. That is the words of Abu Talib as he's emotionally, marrying off his nephew and his orphan nephew that he's loved so much and has been through so much, to this wonderful lady Khadija radiallahu anha. And he knows that if there's anyone that deserves happiness, it's the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my nephew. And after he finishes, Warqa bin Nawfal stands up on behalf of his cousin, who is like a younger sister to him, Khadija bin Khuwaylid radiallahu anha, and he's also very, very elderly. And he stands up and he gives beautiful words and a beautiful sermon in regards to this marriage of his cousin sister and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the dua is made and the nikah is done, and Sayyidah Khadija radiallahu anha and Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam enter into their beautiful home. And as they step foot into this beautiful home, you have to understand that whilst all of this has been happening from the view of Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, from the view of those around her, very little has happened from the view of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has just been very innocent and modest and quiet and almost just held back and just taking it as it comes all of this time. And now as he holds the hand of Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, as Allah knows how that beautiful scene was when they entered their home together. You have to understand the scene and the emotional state for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because after 25 years of entering into this world without a father, after saying, without even a goodbye, losing his milk brothers and sisters, his milk father and his milk mother, and that image of her walking away with tears in her eyes and never seeing her again and never even getting an answer where they were, after witnessing the sweat on his mother's forehead as she smiled at him one last time and said that أنا ميتة وذكري باق تركت خيرا وودت دهرا, and she passed away from this world saying that I am dying, I am passing away, but my memory will always remain in this world through you, through the beautiful pure child that I have left in this world. And as the soil then and the montage enters into the soil, going onto the grave of his mother that is lost, and coming back to Makkah without a home in the arms of Ayman, coming into a life where he is now a guest in the house of his grandfather, without a home of his own, without clothing of his own, without money of his own, without anything of his own, without parents of his own, and without any one individual family member that he could say was my immediate own. Without any of these things, he went from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Almost 20 years, 19 years have gone by without anything to be called his own. And now he walks in to a house that he can call his own, to a family that he can call his own, to wealth that he can call his own, to clothing that he can call his own, to a kitchen and a home and a meals that he can expect that can be his own. And but all of this is secondary to him, because when he looks into the house, into the eyes of Khadija radiallahu anha, he sees for the first time, my own. That's it. My own everything. My own family. The woman that will become my mother, my sister, my best friend, my partner, my whole family, my everything, my world. This is Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha. And that is the one unique speciality that through her du'as and yearning, Allah gave her more than what she asked for. She didn't just become the partner and the wife of the final messenger. She became like the whole world and the whole family of the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because when he looked at the loving eyes of Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, he saw his mother sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He saw everything that he's lost and everything that he's been without for these 19 years. And now you can imagine the heart of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how it must be bursting with love and must be bursting with joy to embrace this woman that he would never ever want to lose. And you can imagine from this very first second how important this woman was for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how beloved she was, that the heart of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that had remained closed for so long had opened up and had embraced the heart of Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha. And that was the beautiful union that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created through this beautiful marriage. And as days went by, you have to imagine, also from the view of Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, that when she looks through the eyes of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she forgets everything she's ever been through and every loss she's ever been through. And this is a woman who's been through pain and loss in her own right, and her life has been through such that it was as though Allah was preparing her to go through everything, so that one day she would be the heart and consolation who would understand everything that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had been through, and would be the ultimate solace and the ultimate happiness and the joy of the heart of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And imagine being that, what an honor that Allah made you the joy of the heart of His most beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She got more, and when you wait and you yearn in that dua, Allah gives you more than what you ask for. That was the result of our dua, and may Allah give all of us more than we ask for and exceed our expectations, as He subhanahu wa ta'ala always does. And at this moment, as days go by in this beautiful home, Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha decorates the home through her love and through her charm and through her joy into such that it becomes like heaven on earth for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is the beauty. One of the only aspects of Jannah that we have in this world is our spouses. And that is the beauty of when two people truly come together. Those souls are destined for each other when they truly come together. May Allah grant all of us this and grant us the tawfiq and hidayah to build these beautiful homes like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha. That when they came together, it was literally nur and beauty as soon as you entered into the precincts of this home. And Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha continued, and as her heart grew with love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she loved him so purely and so dearly that she couldn't stay away from him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and neither could he sallallahu alaihi wasallam stay away from her. And we know that one time the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was away, and he entered into the presence of Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, and she just stood up, ran up to him, and just hugged him so tight, with tears in her eyes, and just held him so tight in her arms, like she never wanted to let go of him again. And this was her, her heart bursting in his presence sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when she realizes she's how elated, how overwhelmed she had come on, how strongly she had come on to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with her hug, she slowly, she with tears in her eyes, she says to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that this love that I feel for you, in other words, this heart of mine that is bursting, and she confesses to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at that moment that it isn't just the love of a heart to a heart. It isn't just the normal love that comes from marriage. I loved you before I even knew you, in other words, because I loved you and made dua for you the day I knew that Allah was going to send a final messenger. In other words, my love for you goes beyond just this world. The reason why I love you so much, and if I just feel like I'm loving you too much, or I'm coming on too strong, I know that I can't control it. Forgive me, because I love you so much that is beyond this world. I love you such that I love you for Allah. I love you because you're the messenger of Allah, not just because of you. I love you as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as my husband. But even past that, when my love goes beyond those bounds, my love continues to the realm where I love you as the messenger of Allah, and I love you as for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I prayed for you, made dua for you, because I wanted you to be married, and my heart was from that time, in other words, not just from the day of our marriage, but from that day onwards, my heart has just been bursting for you and been beating for you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I pray for that day when you come and you will enter on me and say to me that today I am no longer just Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, your husband. I am Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Rasul of Allah, I am the messenger of Allah. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have to imagine in his innocent state, as he's being, overwhelmed by the love of this woman who means everything to him. You have to imagine that you have to almost pause, and before you even digest the words, look at the state of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam after 19 years to feel this kind of embrace, to be, blanketed with this kind of love, with this woman who's taken, making up for everything he lost with his mother, with his grandfather, with his father, and with Hazrat Halima, with his sister Hazrat Shayma, with his sister Hazrat Unaysa, with his brother Hazrat Abdullah, with his sister Hazrat Khidama, all of these people that he's loved and missed, and everything that he's missed out. This one thing that becomes his own, his most prized possession, his most prized and most valuable thing in this whole world, Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha, and he's being embraced by this. You have to imagine the emotional state and the happiness and the tears in the heart of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at that moment. But when he hears this speak of the messenger, the prophethood, every time he heard this, it would overwhelm him. And again, it begins to overwhelm him. But at this moment, this woman that he loves so much, that is the love of his life, he can't break her heart. So even though he's overwhelmed, he says a few words to console her, saying, I don't want to break her heart. That's the last thing I want to do, in other words. So he says, Oh Khadija, I hope that Allah accepts your dua. And I hope that even though he was overwhelmed and he was, the humility of the Prophet ﷺ, that he never thought himself to be of the stature of, greatness or of a prophet. He always felt so humble. Like he was, who am I? And he was, frightened by this title of prophet or this title of leadership. He was frightened by it. He didn't go after it. So even though he's overwhelmed, he didn't want to break her heart. He didn't want to break her dreams. He wanted to build her dreams. So he says, I hope Allah accepts your dua. And then he knows that at the same time, he loves her so much. This is the purity of love. Whilst we want to, give them their dreams, we also don't want to, break their dreams. We also don't want to, lead them on in false hopes and see them fall down. We don't want to, take them up and watch them crash down when their dreams break. That is the love that a person has. And the true relationship of a husband and a wife is that whilst they're also husband and wife, when that love develops, they also have to become a mother and a father to each other. They have to have an aspect of a motherly love as a wife to a husband, and a husband has to have a fatherly love and protection to his wife. That is the beauty of a true marriage, and that is what you see with Hazrat Khadija. She became like that mother of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he became like the father that she had lost. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's how they looked after each other. And like the statement saying goes, every woman's first child is a husband, and it should be as such, because this is how the purity of marriage was. This is how the best of marriage was. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as a husband and as someone who loves her dearly, tells her that I hope Allah, in other words, makes your dream come true. I hope Allah fulfills this promise to you. Even though it was hard for him, he's sacrificing his own fears to say, I hope Allah gives you this happiness that you're yearning for. But at the same time, from the fatherly love and from the fatherly care, he also doesn't want that. I don't want you to have also, oh my beloved, I don't also want you to have false hopes. I don't want to see those tears in your eyes when your dreams might not come true. So then he says to her, but no, oh my Khadija, know that if the prophethood isn't given to me, if I am not that prophet, and that prophet that you yearn for is given to someone else, then know that Allah will never ever let your efforts go to waste. And look, subhanAllah, the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the exact words of Allah in the Quran, as Allah continues to tell us that Wallahu la yudhi'u ajr al-muhsinin, that Allah never lets any little good that the good people do, He never lets that go to waste. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying this on his tongue towards the Khadija radhiyallahu anha, that this is the natural heart. Even if it wasn't those words from his heart, he says those words that, look, I know Allah, I know my Allah. Allah will never let the good that you do go to waste. Meaning, even if that prophet becomes someone else, even if you're just married to me, and even if I always just stay Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, your husband, every inch of yearning and every dua that you've asked for that prophet would come into your arms and your midst, Allah will reward you for every bit of yearning that you yearn, because you yearn for his Rasul, whoever it may be, in other words. And that's how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam embraced and consoled his beautiful wife, who he loved so much, and who was more than just a wife. She was the joy of his heart, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is our beloved mother, Hazrat Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiyallahu anha. And from this, inshallah, we will continue from this beautiful moment of this embrace, when our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in the embrace and the arms of Khadija radiallahu anha, who is in the arms of her beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the most beautiful and purest of love stories that there ever was, there ever is, and there ever will be. Sallallahu alaihi radiallahu anha. From this moment, we will continue tomorrow, inshallah, in our Seerah and the Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And before we conclude, I will request Riaz to do a short dua as he's informed that he will do for all of us and for the viewers, inshallah. جزاك الله خير واخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته.